Imagine this. The wind howls, the sky darkens, and the systems you trust fail. The power goes out, the lights die, the warmth vanishes, and suddenly you're alone. Most people today believe comfort is forever, that walls will always hold, that rescue will always come. But medieval people knew better. They understood that when nature turns violent, survival doesn't depend on luck. It depends on knowledge. They built homes that grew stronger in storms, walls that bent but didn't break roofs, that shed water like armor, and foundations that held firm when the winds howled. They knew how to live when every storm could be their last. Today, you'll rediscover 7 forgotten survival systems that could save your life when everything modern fails. Stay till the end, because the last skill might be the only thing standing between you and disaster. Centuries ago in medieval Europe, survival was never guaranteed. There were no emergency services, no backup power, no second chances. When the storms came, violent, unrelenting, and unforgiving, your home wasn't just shelter. It was your only line of defense between life and death. Every beam, every wall, every roof was crafted not for comfort, but for survival. People understood the language of the wind, the weight of the rain, the pressure of storms that could tear villages apart overnight. And from that knowledge passed down through generations came systems simple, yet ingenious, that allowed ordinary people to withstand nature's fury without any of the technology we rely on today. We've forgotten most of these lessons, but the storms haven't changed, and the need to endure remains the same. Technique 1. Flexible timber frames. The first secret to medieval storm survival wasn't strength, it was flexibility. Medieval builders knew that rigid structures break, but flexible frames crafted from timber bend, with the wind absorbing the storm's fury without shattering. They used green wood, young living timber that still retained moisture, allowing beams to flex and sway instead of snapping. Joints were fastened using wooden pegs instead of iron nails, giving the entire frame the ability to move as one, like the branches of a living tree. When violent winds struck, these homes didn't fight the storm, they flowed with it. And they stood when others fell. Today, modern earthquake-resistant buildings use the same principles, because resilience isn't about resisting force, it's about moving with it. A lesson medieval builders mastered centuries before we gave it a name. Technique 2. Waddle and Dob Walls. The second line of defense in medieval storm survival was the wall, but not the thick, heavy walls we imagine today. Instead, medieval builders created something far smarter: waddle and daub. A lattice of woven wooden strips, flexible, light, and shock-absorbing, coated with a mixture of mud, straw, and clay. Together, they formed walls that could bend without breaking, absorbing the shock of violent winds and shifting ground. When storms hit, these walls swayed gently, returning to place when the danger passed. And they weren't just resilient. They were insulating, holding warmth in brutal winters, and keeping homes cooler in the heat. Cheap to build, easy to repair. And when combined with flexible frames, they created homes that survived centuries. It wasn't brute force that kept these homes standing. It was intelligence. The intelligence of working with nature, not against it. Technique 3. Thatched roofing systems. The roof. In any storm, it is the first to be tested and often the first to fail. But medieval builders designed a solution so simple, so brilliant, it still survives in parts of the world. Today, the thatched roof. Made from layers of tightly packed straw, reed, or grass, these roofs weren't just light and cheap. They were aerodynamic, allowing wind to pass over without resistance and rain to slide off without pooling. Their overlapping structure formed a natural waterproof barrier, while the thatch's flexibility let the roof shift slightly under pressure without collapsing. In fierce storms, these roofs didn't shatter, they flexed, they breathed, and they held. And when damage came, repairs were fast and easy, using nothing but natural materials. No tiles to shatter, no metal sheets to rip away. A roof designed not to fight nature, but to survive alongside it. Technique 4. Stone and earth foundations. No matter how strong your walls or how clever your roof, If the foundation fails, everything falls. Medieval builders understood this truth better than anyone. That's why, even with limited tools, they created stone and earth foundations designed not for beauty, but for survival. They chose high ground away from floodwaters. They dug deep, anchoring homes into stable soil. And they used layers of stone and compacted earth to create bases that distributed weight evenly and resisted shifting when storms or tremors struck. These foundations weren't flawless, but they were strong enough, resilient enough to hold homes in place through centuries of violent weather. Today, modern engineering follows the same core principles because survival starts from the ground up. And in the medieval world, a home was only as strong as the earth beneath it. Technique 5. Central hearth heating. In medieval winters, cold was more than discomfort, it was deadly. And the heart of every home, the difference between survival and death, was the central hearth. Unlike modern heating systems that warm air, medieval hearths radiated heat from a single constant source. Stone and clay walls absorbed the fire's warmth by day and released it slowly through the freezing night. The hearth wasn't just for cooking. It was the home's core, its life force. Families gathered close not just for warmth, but for safety, for survival. And because the hearth sat at the center, the entire home benefited from its heat. No wasted energy, no dead spaces. Even today, passive heating designs borrow this ancient wisdom, because when systems fail, when the cold creeps in, sometimes the oldest answers are still the best. Technique 6. Multi-layer insulation. Surviving the cold wasn't just about fire, it was about keeping the warmth in and the deadly wind out. Medieval people mastered multi-layer insulation long before modern science gave it a name. They used what they had: straw packed between walls, animal hides hung over doorways, woven fabrics layered over wooden frames. Every layer trapped a little more warmth, blocked a little more wind, and made the difference between comfort and freezing death. Even floor coverings, rushes, woven mats, dried reeds protected bare feet from the bitter chill of stone. It wasn't luxury, it was survival. The principle was simple. Many thin layers protect better than one thick one because air itself becomes insulation. And this ancient wisdom still shapes how we build shelters, clothing, and homes today. In survival, the smallest details, like a single layer of straw, can mean everything. Technique 7. Strategic placement. The final survival trick wasn't built, it was chosen. Medieval people knew that where you placed your home was just as important as how you built it. They studied the land, they watched the wind, they paid attention to flood patterns, shelter from hills, the direction of storms. Homes were tucked behind natural windbreaks, dense forests, rocky outcrops, elevated ridges. They avoided building at the base of valleys where cold air sank and floods pooled. And they never ignored the signs of past destruction because the land remembers what humans forget. This ancient wisdom, choosing the right ground before you even lay a single stone, saved more lives than any wall or roof ever could. Today, preppers and survivalists still follow the same rule: location is survival. And sometimes choosing wisely is the first and most important defense. For centuries, survival wasn't an option. It was a way of life. Medieval people didn't have backup plans. They had knowledge. They had memory. They had systems born from hardship, refined by necessity, and passed down through generations. And though the world has changed, the storms haven't. The cold hasn't. The need to endure remains. These ancient survival skills still matter, because when systems fail, when comfort disappears, only what you know before disaster strikes can save you. So subscribe, because survival spreads through knowledge, not luck. And watch the next video, where you'll learn how medieval people secured clean drinking water in a world filled with disease, famine, and death. The past is not gone. It's waiting for those willing to remember.